All right. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone, or good morning, I guess as the case may be. Welcome to the Morbid Symptoms Morbid Symptoms Update. I changed it. Morbid Symptoms Update. And I'm here again with a friend of the show, Garrett from the Social Populist. Hello, Garrett. How are you? Oh, is he frozen? There he is. Garrett, can you hear me? Garrett is frozen. Hold on. Let me send him a little message saying that he's frozen. Let's see. Garrett, you are frozen. Sorry about this. He was here a minute ago. Oh, I just saw him move. All right. Is he moving? I can't tell. Oh, no. Remove, add to stage. Let's see if that works. Or if he's gone for good. Let's see. Anyway, while we're waiting for Garrett to return, this is the Morbid Symptoms Update. We're going to have these Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, hopefully. Garrett won't always be the co-host, but he's generously agreed to participate. Hi! Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. So you're kind of frozen now. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there you are. There you are. I see movement. All right. Okay. So before I realized you were frozen, I said, "Hey, Garrett, how's it going?" And then I realized you were frozen. So let's try this again. Hey, Garrett, how are you?
Hey, what's up?
Nothing but the 2024 U.S. Game of Thrones election cycle. Anyway, yes.
The Hitler versus Stalin election cycle.
Yes, fascism versus communism. It's very exciting. End of the world stuff brewing. I mean, literally, they both want to. Well, I don't know. To stick with the, and again, as you can, for those of you who told, this is like our fourth or fifth, I can't remember now, U.S. Game of Thrones election update. And I decided to use the Game of Thrones kind of as a, just to have some fun with it, because I like doing the face swaps, I think, but also just kind of, just to kind of, mock it a bit, or I don't know. Not so much the Game of Thrones people. Don't come after me. I realize that some people take that very seriously, and it's fine. But just to have some fun, to poke fun at the farce and tragedy that is the U.S. Electoral politics, particularly this year, it seems more than others. But anyway, as some of you may know, my former guest host for this for the U.S. Game of Thrones segment has decided to leave because he found my my position on Palestine too not suitable for work. So he can't tolerate sharing a Zoom a live stream screen with me. I'm very dangerous, people. You do not want me to taint your reputation. But thank God Garrett doesn't care about that. So I've been pushing him, nudging him last couple of weeks, like, hey, you want to do this with me? And he finally...
May he perish in dragon fire.
That's right. That's right. We'll see. Well, may he come to the same sticky fate as Varys did. Although I like Varys, I have to say. I mean, not that, he was behind the scenes. I don't know if he was a kingmaker, but king or queen maintainer. But anyway, yes. And I decided, and I want people to know that I decided that Garrett's GOT Game of Thrones avatar would be, wait for it, people. It's going to be sticky. Ned Stark. Eddard Ned Stark. All right. I know people have strong feelings. I know he's a fan favorite. And Garrett will do him proud. At first, I thought he can be Bronn. And then I've realized how cynical Bronn was. And he was always talking about sex and whatnot. Not there's anything wrong with that. But I didn't. I thought Garrett's not cynical. So I thought, okay, he can be Bronn. And I just want to show you here before we go to the intro for the segment, what a nice Ed Stark my friend Garrett makes. So let's look at this here. I mean, look at this. I mean, you could be him. I mean, that was a nice, I don't know if that's, I don't know if it's a recent photo or not, but I was like, look at this. I thought this is it. And once I did the face swap and I realized how nice it was, I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, this will bring the girls to the yard, so to speak. The ladies or gents, whatever. Okay. So anyway, on that note, we are going to do the game. We're going to start our, we're going to officially start the U.S. Game of Thrones segment. I hope to be doing these once a week, maybe every Wednesday. Garrett, when he can, will join, but of course I can't put the screws to him too much because it is he's doing this just out of the goodness of his comradely heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also I don't even know if I should say this.
I don't consider myself a natural born broadcaster.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, that's right. He's a natural born broadcaster. He knows the showbiz. However, he does. Yeah, even though he has not watched Game of Thrones or read the books, I was like, it's all right. You don't have to. Just like you don't have to know anything about the Constitution or how the government works or anything to be president or have any high elected office. You certainly don't have to have read read the Game of Thrones, certainly, or watched the series to participate in our election coverage with this theme. So here we go. So let's see. Garrett,
the
Ned,
real democracy here.
Real democracy here, yes. So I'm gonna play our intro, and we'll be back up with the U.S. Game of Thrones election coverage in just a moment. All right. Oh, Garrett has disappeared again. This is not good. What's happening?
Hey,
What's going on, yo? You were off and on
I don't
again.
know.
I don't know. Oh, well, we'll have to deep state, or sublation. Sublation media's after you. That's what it is. I'm trying my damnedest to start some internecine left beef. Damn it.
It's they gave us the digital ice pick.
The digital ice pick, exactly. So the first thing I want to talk about is I don't know. Did you happen to be one of the unlucky souls who's not blue borged? And by Borg, I mean like the Borg in Star Trek. Now that's the blue Borg. Um, did you happen to catch any of the DNC convention, the Democratic National Convention, or were you spared from that? Or did you spare yourself from that? Oh,
Hear me? I lost
yeah, I
the
can hear you
video.
now. I can hear you now.
Sorry about
It's all right.
that. Yeah, okay. I caught bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I mean, it's a whole lot of nothing. And what I saw just, made my skin crawl. I I really don't like watching these things unless they're something scandalous.
Oh, Garrett, you're
I
out
watched Michael
again.
Tracy's.
Hold on
yeah?
a second, Garrett. I can hear you, but I can't see you. This is weird. Usually we don't have these problems. That's okay. Keep on talking. I can hear you. So go ahead. You were saying something about Michael Tracy.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. Ned.
Yeah. I think I spent more time watching Michael Tracy's like man on the street interviews.
Yeah.
And then Max Blumenthal and the Gray Zone like ambushing Chuck Schumer and company with Palestinian genocide questions.
Yeah, no, I caught some of that. I also saw the one where he was talking to one of the, what were those people called? The Lincoln Project guys. And whoever he was talking to didn't know who he was. And then some woman came up and just was like, "No, we're done. We're done. We're done." It's like, calm down, geez. Calm down. Yeah. So did you happen to notice that Bernie, let me tell you, I remember I saw on reason why I saw some clips online. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was the guy who used to be the head of the DSA, who now is like the head editor of the Nation magazine. And I still can't see you, Garrett. Yeah? And Kara, yeah.
Sankara.
Yeah. So I still can't see you, Garrett, but I can hear you. So that's weird. Is your video on?
Yeah, my video's on.
Oh, you're back.
Is that better?
Well, I can see you, so that's an improvement. But people after
you could just put up the Ned Stark icon on my screen. I'll leave it there.
I'll have to do that. I'll have to do that for next time. Anyway, it's okay. It is what it is. Oh crap. Oh, now I forgot what I was gonna say. Something. Oh yeah. So I don't know what we would call it. I guess it's the professional left hustle or the whatever it is. And I know that Glenn Greenwald was also talking about how now all of a sudden after the Tim Walz thing, and now when any word, any utterance that the team Kamala, because I don't think she gives any, I don't even know if she's talked to any of the actual press yet or not, but any utterance that Team Kamala makes, or Tim Waltz, it's anyway they can anyway construe as being some sort of sign that maybe they would push for a ceasefire. They just jump all over this, and it's like, are you guys? And I can't figure out if people like Bhaskar, or the Young Turks, or Emma Vigeland, who I have to gag when I say her name. I can't stand that woman. Anyway, if they actually believe this or what it is, it's like, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 5,000 times, you're an idiot, or you're just trying to like figure out how to maintain your audience base. I mean, I hate to think that people are that cynical, but it's like either they're in total denial, or they're bargaining because of I don't know what they think their audience demographic is. But it's like, if you want to keep on, it's like, are you lying just to us, or are you lying to yourself as well? Because it's like they're clearly pissing on you, and you're telling us it's raining, or that it's snowflakes and possibilities, because maybe some way, if you squint and look 5 ways over there, they might possibly do something that isn't totally nasty. I don't know if you caught any of that, but it's like, what's with these people? Do you think? Is it just a grift? Is it that cynical, or is there something else going on?
I just think they're Yeah, I think so. I think they're just Democratic Party operatives.
Yeah. They're just Democrats, but they don't want to say that because it sounds too vanilla. So they have to make themselves sound interesting by saying they're part of the DSA, or they're progressive, or whatever. What is going on
team is
across the Atlantic? What's going on over there, Garrett? You're in and out. You're all over the place.
All right,
it's all right. It's not your fault. You're not in charge of the internet. I apologize. I shouldn't blame you for the internet. What's going on over there?
Let me address this a little bit. Hold on a second.
Okay. Anyway, while you're doing that, I'll go through the slides because I think it's kind of funny. At least I find them humorous. So we have, again, I'm picking loose avatars. I realized that Cersei, the actual character of Cersei Lannister, and Kamala Harris, you might think, okay, well, there's similarities there, but you have to pick somebody. So I picked her because I just love this idea of her, on the Iron Throne when she's not, day drinking. With the I'm speaking thing. So I picked Cersei Lannister for her avatar, maybe who she thinks. So when I pick someone for these people, it's either who I think the press, either on the good side, either who's against them or with them, is trying to present them as, to match up the character that way with the Game of Thrones, or who they might think they are, who they're trying to be. So I picked Cersei for Kamala. I was just going over this while you wait, and then I had Slay because also Cersei was drinking quite a bit. Cersei was drinking a lot, but of course, back in the day, people drank a lot of wine and beer because the water wasn't that clean. So it's not always that they were, so into that. But it's also the fact that people, and even I'll bring this up again when we talk about how the people are the people who are trying to paint Kamala Harris or the Democrats as communist are they're either so committed to this propaganda, or they're so freaked out they're even going back to Marx and trying to disparage his private life, so and his drinking and all that. I'm like, well, who wasn't 5 sheets to the wind back then? Most people drank more wine or beer than water because it was clean or cleaner. Anyway. And you might kind of appreciate this, Garrett, because since the last time we were talking together, when we were talking about your the article you're working on for your Substack on disease mongering, and when I was replying to some craziness online, I was like, well, I was thinking about how much people used to drink back in the day, and I don't even know when that's subsided. Then I started thinking, because we have all these things about fetal alcohol syndrome and all these things. I'm not saying that people who were pregnant should get drunk all the time, but I was like, how did we manage to do anything when for most of human civilization, a lot of people were drinking cheap beer and wine because it was cleaner, it was safer to drink than water. And then plus,
The
100
antibiotic, yeah.
years ago, people were giving their colicky babies a little bit of, a little bit of opium and but somehow we had,
That's probably healthier.
we didn't all start looking too crazy. So and I was wondering about that. I was wondering about that. I was wondering, like, I think I was thinking, like, could I have had a couple glasses of wine when I was pregnant? Not that I wanted to, because that's one of the ways I knew I was. Is I was like,
I
I don't
don't
want to do
know.
that.
That's tricky. I used to drink a lot. Now
I
I hardly
bet you
drink at all.
did. Oh,
Now
ooh,
I hardly
okay.
drink at all because it does mess with you when you're at over 40.
Yeah.
So I
Are
don't
you
think it's a
over
very
40?
yeah. I don't think it's very healthy.
No, this is
I don't think
not.
it's a
I'm not saying that people
very
should
healthy
go out
substance.
and I'm not saying people should start drinking, 8 glasses of wine a day instead of water. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I
Anyway,
used to really enjoy it, but nowadays I can definitely relate to the poisonous. Understand
yeah,
how
no,
it's a
no.
poison.
Yeah.
But it's all in the dose. It's all in the dose.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, one of the reasons I'm more of a commie and less of an anarchist than I was is because it is good to have like infrastructure and civilization and like you know good water treatment systems and all
You gotta
that.
have some structure,
So
you gotta have some order, you gotta have some shared rules. Yeah,
yeah,
you
so I
gotta have
don't
a
necessarily
shared
want to
grand
romanticize
narrative, perhaps. Yeah.
yeah, I don't necessarily want to romanticize the pre-industrial era too much and all of the health
No, 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 no,
ways
no.
of it.
No, 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 no. I was just it's just a fun fact.
Yeah, yeah,
uh okay, so before we had your video seems to be sticking now, so that's good. Um
yeah,
anyway, yeah, so oh, that's right. I wanted to bring up because in terms of the professional left or which and I would and I include in that sphere both people like the Young Turks and the Majority Report and even like what's his name? Uh Kyle something or other, Crystal's husband. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
What's Crystal's
Kyle,
husband? We'll just call him
yeah,
that.
Crystal's husband.
Breaking, not breaking point.
Kyle something or other. Yeah,
Yeah,
and all these people, and even oh my god, even
we'll just
this
call him Kyle Rittenhouse.
yeah.
We'll like that.
Yeah, and even the girl, even this woman who was trying, I think she's a state representative, and she's a Palestinian American, and she's a state representative for the Democratic Party, and they were trying to lobby the Democratic DNC to let one person speak about Palestine, and this woman was like, well, and then even though they didn't let them do it, this woman gave her speech outside the DNC and fully supported Kamala Harris, and talked about unity and all this stuff, and didn't use any of the words that they don't like genocide and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just like, and then you have Bernie. People still like John Cusack, I think, had to put up a Bernie thing, and he was talking about how great listen to him. And I'm like, okay, this is the bullshit, and Bernie must know. I think he reminds me of the guy who's like, it's a character that's a standard character in shows. It's a bit, but someone who's like, they're known for one thing or one or two things. They had some success like maybe 30 years ago, and they're doing it over and over again. They're usually like alcoholics because they have to drink afterwards or before to get themselves to go out and be like, oh, I'm the great whatever. And so they let Bernie go out and do his thing. He talks about the billionaires and the millionaires and the blah, 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 blah. And then who does he have to introduce after him is Pritzker from Chicago, who is a billionaire, and talks about how he's a
Yeah,
real billionaire, whereas Trump's a fake billionaire. And also, it's like they also did, I don't know if you caught this, because this is how Democrats they're so wokeborg. They did a land acknowledgement at the beginning of the DNC, and they also had, I think there was people who were members of the tribe that used to live or whose people used to dwell, who lived where now Chicago is. And then they have Pritzker come out, whose family probably owns or took most of the land that they talked about in the land acknowledgement. It's never land, repatriation. It's always a land acknowledgement. And it's just like, it still works. They're like, oh, look, we have this person talk. So Bernie can come and talk. He can say some things about the millionaires and the billionaires. They got to pay the fish here. And then you can have you can have
that was good. That was really good, by the way.
And all that. And it's like, we're just like, oh, it's such a big tent. It's such a welcoming party. It's so inclusive. Like, some things can't fucking go together. It makes no sense. Either you're the party of Bernie or you're the party of Pritzker. You can't be the party of both and have it make any sense. I mean, you can pretend to be, but policy-wise, we know what's what. Sorry, Garrett. Ned, tell me, what do you think? Why does Bernie keep on bending over and taking it up the ass?
They've been doing this double think for 30, 40 years, though. I mean, ever since you had a kind of sort of Bernie-esque social democratic guy like maybe, Ted Kennedy, just like standing by the Clintons, pushing NAFTA and deindustrialization and, building up the military. It's just been doublethink and incoherence nonstop with the Democrats for years, and maybe throughout their history. I mean, it's people make comparisons to the Vietnam era, and except it's a lot worse, actually, because at least in the Vietnam era, you had Eugene McCarthy and RFK challenging LBJ. But so maybe they were a bit more coherent in those days. But that may just be because there was such a immense hatred for the Vietnam War developing in the late 60s.
No, and I can't remember who it was.
Sorry, my signal's getting weird again.
Okay. Oh, there, he's back. Garrett's back.
Go ahead.
Okay. Because you brought up Vietnam War, and I had a couple of exchanges online. And there's some people like, well, I'm just thinking about what the Vietnam War was like, and how that really, people were mobilized and this and that. And I go, it could happen. We'll see what happens. People also have stake in what's going to happen when the college or the university start up again in September. They think that the students are going to, be the conscience again. And maybe that's the case, but maybe after they went home for a month for the summer, and their parents told them whatever it was their parents told them, and they started to think about, graduation and what they were willing to do and not to do. And, and my thing is, like, I'm all for, if the students want to protest and the encampments and all that, great. But people get this boost from this whenever there's a movement like that. It kind of makes them think, okay, not all is lost. But you can't have protests 24/7. People get burnt out. People get tired. They get cracked down. It's like, where is the politics or the vehicle that can focus this and channel it? Because if you don't have that, all you're doing is making grievances to the people who are causing the problems. And they might, who knows? But it's just like the idea that people have this thing. And I go, also with the Vietnam War, people had a stake because of the draft, because of the bodies coming home. And right now, when you have Ukraine, and particularly Gaza, there's some U.S. people fighting doing things over there, as far as we know. But it's not like, so I think I think there's a lot of cope, and I understand, because you look around, especially if you spend any time looking at the images coming out of Gaza, and you just feel like Jesus. And I hear it all the time from people online. Who's going to do something? Who's going to stop this? Who's going to stop this? And maybe the realization is nobody is. Nobody's going to stop it. It's just going to have to play out. In the end, it'll be between what what the Zionists are prepared to do, which seems to be anything, and then what the quote unquote axis of resistance is prepared to do. It's going to work itself out that way. I don't know what would have to happen if the U.S. hasn't seen enough to put the brakes on Netanyahu yet. What would be the difference? I don't see. It's not like they're pretending not to be doing what they're doing. I don't get it. What do you think about this idea that somehow when the students come back, there could be another uprising and then that'll put pressure on the Democrats and who knows what?
If the Democrats win, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if the Democrats win,
both,
if the Democrats win, they'll just pretend it was Trump's war the whole time, because that's what they did when Nixon got elected. They pretended it was Nixon's war, and then they became anti-Vietnam War. So it's all like cynical partisan stuff in mainstream American politics. That's all I can tell you.
So you're not holding out hope for the students coming back to campus even more radicalized rather than it being kind of played out, especially because the universities have had the whole summer to figure out how they're going to crack down on this as well. Yeah, was it Columbia or was it New York, NYU, who now considers Zionism a protected characteristic like race? So if someone says something critical about Zionism, it's the same as someone saying something racist. I think that's the Columbia policy now. That's nice.
Right. We've gone from Zionism is racism in the 70s to Zionism is anti-racism in the 21st century.
Yeah.
But it's very Orwellian. How it all plays out, it depends on who gets elected. I wish it didn't, but it does.
You're cracking up a bit. Let me change my background. Maybe that will help.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's just it just kind of was going like that. Like you were talking with like while gargling, but now it seems better. So what do you think? I mean, I don't even know. I guess, well, I mean, unless they drop out, which is unlikely, or they're dropped out, which is probably more likely. I'll leave that to the imagination. We're going to be with President Kamala Harris or President Trump. Which one do you think is the lesser of two evils this time around?
I don't I don't know if there is a lesser of two evils.
Equally evil, differently evil, same.
Yeah. I definitely I'll go along with anyone but Harris or anyone but the Democrats. Yeah. Now Trump and RFK are talking about a coalition, or what one of RFK's people referred to the Trump-Kennedy alliance as an attempt at a coalition government. I don't know what to make of that. But anyway, if you're talking specifically about Palestine.
Well, just in general. I mean, you could focus. I mean, that's the elephant in the room, right? They certainly didn't want to talk much about that at all in the DNC. It was just all joy and love, and we're looking forward, and we're gonna elect the first Black woman president. Woo! No negativity allowed here, and if you do, there's something wrong with you, bad person, buzzkill. Yes. So I mean, you can however you like, because I think that people are so used to on the left of center. So we'll have like the progressive crowd or the liberal or whatever you got, like the people like the Squad and and still believe in Bernie Sanders for some reason. Because I think they like the way they felt during that campaign. I think they don't want to let go of that, and of course, it's associated with him. But they're still convinced, like it's just a mantra that the right is always the right, or the Republicans are always the lesser of, or always the greater of two evils. And I'm like, not anymore. I totally am convinced that's not the case. The lesser of two evils this time around is Donald J. Trump. And if someone had told me I would say that in 2016, I'd have been, what? But here we are. Yeah, if I had to vote, for Harris or the Democrats or Trump, I'd vote for Trump if I had to. Easy. And do I think he's somehow fantastic, that he's changed, he's grown, that now he's going to be like the most incredible virtuoso government person ever, that he's going to have he's going to be like the Republican FDR or something, probably not. I would say no. But do I think he's more likely to give the middle finger to donors after they pay for his election? Yeah. Do I think he will? Probably not. But is it more likely? Yeah. However, I think that doesn't. People are saying to me, it's like, okay, so fine. But the fact is, and this is a good segue to the RFK Trump. Yeah. Oops. Let me see if I can find it. Trump alliance or coalition or whatever it is. I don't know what to call it. But I had a graphic, but now I've lost it. I guess it doesn't really matter. Oh, here we go. Here I have one. This will be good. So fighting the mono party, make America great again, make America healthy again. I think that one of those biceps could be RFK's. I don't know if the other one could be Trump's. But so he's basically, and I remember when I saw the Trump, not the Trump speech, but the RFK speech. And I was like, and at first I thought, and for people who are listening, I'm totally aware that his position.
Yeah, the other one is Kanye West.
Yeah, one's Kanye West. I'm totally aware of RFK's position on Israel, and I don't understand why. I don't know if he's been schmoolied or what's gone on there, but I'm going to put that to the side. Okay. And for those of you who are upset about that, sorry about that, but I'm going to put that to the side. When I was watching his thing, I thought, well, good for him. He finally had gotten his fill of how the Democratic Party was treating him. And decided, you know what, I'm gonna, and I was, and people were like, people were like, it's a grift, it's that, or I told you it was fake, and people like trying to take their victory lap. And I'm like, it looks like politics to me. He read the thing. He finally got fed up with the crap that the Democrats were pulling, and looked around and said, if and I believed when he's like, I have 10, I have maybe 10 years left, and the only way forward now for me to have a chance of making serious progress in the issues that I care about is to join forces with President Trump. And some of the people lost their mind. I'm like, it's politics. They were in negotiations. They were talking. Now, could Trump back out? Could he change his mind? Of course he could. Also, he could do everything he says he's going to do and make, because it sounds like RFKjr is now the Jared Kushner, like everything. He loves him, and he can solve any problem. So, fine. But it doesn't mean that the quote unquote deep state will just open up the door for him. That
would definitely be progress over Jared Kushner.
Yeah, no, I don't dispute that. But do you understand the comparison I'm making? Because now there's this glow, and I'm quite sure Trump loves hanging out with a Kennedy. I'm sure RFK is quite charming and to be around, and he's loving it. He's loving this, and I'm sure RFK is aware of it. Yeah. So people trying to make it like it's some bad thing. I'm like, it looks like politics to me. You know?
Well, this is
like, it was never RFK's dream to give the big FU to the Democratic Party and join forces with Trump. But what choice did he have? Was he supposed to bend? He's not Bernie, thank God. He has a limit.
Yeah. Well, this is a pattern. This is like a box that I think liberals have been putting people into for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like, you know, pushing away reasonable people who are dissenting from liberalism and from the left party line in this country, and pushing them away until eventually people looking for partners have to partner with people on the right, even if that wasn't their first choice.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that's been going on since it's actually been going on since the movement for investigating the JFK assassination and the RFK assassinations in the 1960s, because all the people who were like calling out the Warren Commission and saying that the CIA might be behind it, those were far left people, but they were completely marginalized by the left-wing establishment.
Okay.
I think there was even a big reporter at The Nation who wanted to do exposés on the Warren Commission, who wasn't allowed to publish much. And some of those researchers eventually became associated with the far right, because that's the only people who would publish their stuff which subsequently has been shown to be perfectly reasonable with what's been declassified, with Lee Harvey Oswald having CIA connections, and with there's no way that he could have made that shot by himself. And, and all of these legitimate objections to the official stories. And so, and that repeats, over and over again, especially over the last 5-10 years, with people objecting to the trans ideology and the transing of children, and people objecting to COVID distortions and mandates. So,
we
basically live under something close to liberal totalitarianism.
Well, yeah, and there's all these inversions, these things going on. So I made a list once, and I'm sure it probably didn't start with me. I probably picked, you pick it up from the ether, but I was like, you have the anti-racist, you have the progressive authoritarians, you have the progressive misogynists, you have all this stuff, and it's just like some sort of, it's like the only thing that's still democratic about the only thing that's similar about the Democratic Party when RFK's brother, father and uncle were involved, and today is the name.
Yeah.
That could be, it's just, it's crazy. But okay, so George M. I've also recently felt that Trump is the lesser of two evils. Nice to hear someone else say it, because I never before thought it was possible to pick the right wing side of the equation. I tell you, George, I feel bad now how well, not bad, because at the time I was under no illusions in 2016 of Hillary Clinton, but I just had this thing that Trump was kind of like a gimmick that went too far, that kind of got steam and kind of got away from him, and that looking at what was going on, being like, he doesn't, the idea that I was like, he's going to get taken advantage of. He has no idea what he's doing, has no idea about government, and all this stuff. But now I'm thinking, that could very well be true, but even throwing that into the equation, because I was watching an interview with him, and I think he's not the only one who does this. Some of the other politicians do this too, but he was having an interview with Theo Vaughn, I think, who's a comedian that has a really popular podcast, and he grew up in Louisiana or something. He's a sweet guy, and he was having a conversation with him about I think about health insurance and the opioid crisis, and Trump's talking to him as if he's never been in Washington before, like he's never had any power before. Like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. The lobbyists really have have a lot of power, and it's and it's like it's kind of funny. But in terms of the insidiousness and the big sister, big brother bullshit, and the censorship, and the progressive authoritarian is the only thing I can talk. It's weird. It's like, I'd rather deal with Republicans and Trump than the DNC. I mean, I just would. And it's not not because I love the other side. It's like, I really think that it's the lesser of two evils. And even with Trump, with all the issues. It's like, if he's in charge, all the people who were biting their tongue or pretending they weren't seeing what they were seeing, I'm sure all of a sudden, if Trump wins, all of a sudden people who weren't saying much about Israel will start saying something about Israel, because it's not a republic, it's not a Democrat in power. Somehow it's more easier for them to have a conscience or morals if it's a Republican in the White House. You know, I think the press, such that it is, will also, even though that could all, you know, if they actually do reporting rather than just, you know, focusing on P tapes and Manchurian candidates or whatever. But yeah, let's see what else George has to say. Very much confirmed by Tim Waltz. No guaranteed on freedom of speech for misinformation or hate speech. And oh yeah, and let's not forget. I'm going to pull this down. Who Tim Waltz? Tim Waltz is, or what his big thing is. If I can find this, let me try to find my slide. Oh crap! Where are the VPs? No, that's Netanyahu.
Well, while you're doing that, let me just say,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Please do.
I was arguing with an anarchist on Twitter earlier today. Like,
that sounds nice.
He still thinks that Trump is a Nazi, like just like literally a Nazi.
Oh,
and it's
God.
like that was kind of, I used to be all in on that in like 2016, you know. I mean, I also, yeah, I used to be really scared by him, and I was kind of involved in Antifa in those days. But it's like in 2017, I don't know if people remember, like in spring of 2017, there was an episode where a Bernie Sanders supporter opened fire, did a mass shooting. Of these congressmen who are having a baseball game, right? And it's like, if Trump wanted to have a Reichstag fire and suspend the Constitution, he could have done it right then and there. It's like
or tried to,
analog of the Reichstag fire. And he did absolutely nothing. He didn't even rhetorically say, these radical leftists are out to shoot us all down and
they're out to kill us. they're going to take our guns with their guns. No. Yeah, no, and it's just the whole thing that everything they keep on saying that Trump's going to do, they forget, or people forget that, well, he was president for 4 years, so we have a fairly good idea, at least, a pretty good idea, like what that's like.
Yeah.
And everything that they keep on doing these things to keep him in power, and they do the things that they say he's going to do, but they do it with a different discourse, with different language.
Yeah.
So it's like, so if he had said something like what Tim Waltz said about free speech, people would have lost their mind. The hypocrisies, or people just can't, maybe they literally hear it different.
Yeah.
That could possibly be.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also the idea that they want to turn in, what was it called? January 6th into like, it was, like we were this close to losing our government. It's like, and
that's
Jimmy
much
George,
closer. That's much closer to the Reichstag fire. I mean, that was Biden's Reichstag fire, basically.
Well, there you go. Yeah, will you say more about that?
And,
that was will you say more about that? How the Democrats, maybe how January 6th seems to have been something they've sucked that marrow to the bone. So to speak.
Well, there's no question about that. I mean, it's not a coup, because there was no inside job aspect of it. There were no military officers committing mutiny and turning their guns on the government.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not even like a putsch. Like, you look at that, the beer hole putsch, like the original Nazi attempt at seizing power in 1923. I mean, they killed a half dozen, government officers, and they had 100 trained military veterans, and they'd been training for months, and they had generals on their side. That's what a coup looks like. That's what an attempted coup looks like.
Yeah, and the United States knows what a coup looks like.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Oh, absolutely.
Or at least certain people in the government do.
As John Bolton likes to boast, we tried it in Venezuela.
We cooed them. Yeah, we can coup you too, boo. Boo, boo. Yeah, no, and I'm not saying that, and it's just the idea that when stuff trickles out, like how they could have had a lot more security then, but they opted not to. Um, it looks like there was, what do you call it when there's I guess this is infiltrators, like people from various
Agent provocateurs.
agent provocateurs, yeah. Um, and then it was like, okay, so they're going to take the government, all these people that probably have lots, probably are big on the Second Amendment, but they don't have any guns. And Jimmy Dore,
Yeah,
other
yeah,
people
yeah.
mentioned that. So what kind of coup is this? And yeah, well, I'm sure, yeah, there was some property damage, and they didn't respect the people's house, like the
Well,
people who,
honestly,
like the people in there do. They shit all over it all the time. So you can literally take a shit in there, and people freak out, but they can shit all over it, in terms of laws and policies and bullshit. That's fine.
well,
They
no
can
one on
lie
either
their
side.
asses off in that people's house, but somebody actually takes a crap, which is gross. Don't get me wrong, it was gross, but all of a sudden that's the end of the world, you know.
It's kind of based, actually. But no one on either side will admit this. But I think that they were basically like the MAGA people on January 6th were kind of trying to be Antifa BLM wannabes. Like they say, well, it's okay for them to riot. Why don't we riot? Like it works for them. Let's us give it a try.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's just that energy that was in the air in like 2020 and 2021.
Mm. No, yeah. So let's see. Since we're talking about the before we forget. So, as we know, as you probably have known, when the left, I shouldn't say that, the Democrats are trying to make this election is for democracy. I think both sides are probably saying that now, so they had to come up with something else, because the Trump camp is also saying that democracy is on the line. We're hearing again, this is the most important and the most significant or election there's ever been, or there's never been an election like this. And so it used to be that the Democrats are saying if you care about democracy, you have to vote for us. But now Trump's also saying that, and he has in the warfare campaign they've launched against him since he left office, helps him to make that case. But the idea that with all the stuff they could go after, or they could hang their hat on. So I realize I can pretend to be in a political campaign, and you have to have a couple things you can put your hat on that you're going to hammer in over and over again about your opponent, also about your candidate. So I get they have to have a couple of things, but where they came up with this communism, and that and now Trump is calling.
The New York Post crew have always done that.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's true. But it's like, I don't know if it's always been like that you go, oh, Kamala's a communist, the Democrats are communists, and that even Trump now, he's even his latest ad, which is kind of mild, and he's calling her Comrade Kamala now in his tweets. He's back on Twitter. She's Comrade Kamala, and I'm just wondering, like, Red Scare. Do you think this Red Scare Redux is going to have any effect? And do you think there's a generational thing? Because I find it hilarious. I mean, I don't know how people, the quote unquote younger people feel about this, but I find this hilarious that the Democrats are communists.
Yeah. It's
and Cat Turd. I don't know if he wrote the memo or if he got the memo. I don't know if you're familiar with Cat Turd. He's I guess a conservative or right ring influencer online, and he is all about how they're commie all the time. Everybody's, Kamala's a communist. They're trying to turn the U.S. communist. Canada's communist. All of Europe's communist. Everybody's communist. The U.S. is like the last domino to fall. Everybody's communist.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this? You think it's just desperation? You think it's going to work? Or, I mean, thoughts?
It's hard to understand. It's hard to understand right-wingers logically, and it's, of course, these days it's hard to understand left-wingers in this country, at least logically too. But well, obviously when you talk about the price controls, that's just deceptive because Nixon did that
Soviet style price controls.
That's just Keynesian.
80% income tax.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on whose income,
Yeah. Well, yeah. The income tax that came from Thomas Paine. You see, you put that in the Rights of Man, Volume 2, in like 1790. But anyway, but what was I going to say?
Well, and I had, while you're thinking about you want to say, I'll share with you, because I was just like, I wanted to test how serious people were about this. And I was like, and someone said something to Cat Turds, and this is that we have someone that's called Cat Turd, good for him, about, yeah, it's crazy. Spain, Europe is more communist every day. And so I said, I go, what country in Europe is communist? And this guy I think it's a guy got me. Well, I live in Spain, and they've got, and he likes talked about how how they're gone totally commie. They're totally commie in Spain. And so then I thought I go, well, no, because he's like, and his thing was that they have one, the party has socialist in the name. And so I basically said, like, you can have a political party that has socialist or communist or Marxist in the name. Doesn't mean that the country itself is communist. I go, the ruling elite in Spain, like I think every country except for a handful, and maybe even not even that anymore, because I think that only technically are the countries that say they're communist, or they're trying to build a communist society. I think most of them, I don't know about North Korea, but I think China and Cuba and Vietnam would probably say they're working towards building socialism. Yeah, not that they've attained it yet. And then Laos and North Korea, I don't know. Maybe maybe they tell their people that they've already achieved it. I don't know a lot about Laos, I have to admit. But I'm like, you have 4 countries, yeah? So you have China, no, or is it 5? China, Vietnam, 5. So you have China, North Korea, Vietnam, Laos, and Cuba. 5.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And then even with China, people say, okay, well, they have a mixed economy, which most places have mixed economies. I don't know. Again, I don't know about Laos and North Korea. Probably not. I don't know. I can't say anything about Laos. But it's like and so it's the idea that I was like, Spain, really? So I go, you telling me that the ruling class in Spain isn't primarily comprised of capitalists, financiers, and landowners? Really? It's like, are you saying that Spain doesn't operate within the framework of a capitalist economy? It's crazy.
The grain of truth is that it was actually articulated by Martin Luther King in the 60s, where he said, we have socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, Lenin said that in Imperialism, his book Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism, where he said that the centralization, the concentration of wealth and capital in fewer and fewer hands, and then that ruling class oligarchy's control of the government leads to the socialization of production, which isn't the same thing as the socialization of ownership.
No,
but it means that there's a reach over the entire society by the capitalists. And that the turn has to be all of society, controlling the means of production for all of society, and having the prosperity and the control, spread among everyone. But
anyway, I was having an exchange with this guy, and I think I knew that I would win, but I don't know, but he dropped it, but he wanted to, and I knew, and then he wanted to nitpick, because he was like, well, the state, like how many state employees there? I go, yeah. I go, well, most states have a bureaucracy. They have state employees because they have to oversee, the quote unquote things for the common good. However that's defined. But I go, you have state employees that can be for a jobs program. You have more, you can raise it and lower it. It can also be patronage. You're handing out these things, whatever. But the idea that if you have a sizable public workforce, that means you have a communist society is like batshit crazy. But I was so and it was just like, it's just kind of, it was interesting. I'm like, but I think it's a scary word that people still can gravitate to, but I just think that what they mean is, and there are authoritarian drifts when you look about censorship and speech and the craziness about, men can be women and women can be men and all this, and the how everything's racism. I mean, there are drifts, but to call that communist, I just think I think that people think that they mean communist, that you're being forced to think and act in a particular way. And that is maybe what they mean by it. I don't know.
Yeah, and
But
that's
but
what
in
that's
terms of economics, the economics is like, it's just like, I'm like, I would defy you to show me one ruling class isn't comprised of landowners, financiers, and large scale capitalists,
yeah.
and a government that isn't constrained by what keeps the capital accumulating sufficiently within that system. And it's an honest question. I mean, I don't know. Well, I know that I know, but I don't know. Um, but it was crazy. And then, if I'll let you have a last thought on this, and I know that we have to wrap up soon, but I do want to get to how they've even, so they're so, this has gotten so, this effort is so concerted now that they're even going back and smearing Marx the person. Yeah. So Ashley St. Clair, can you see this? I'll let you read it. Can you see this, Garrett? Or
Yeah, I
no?
can see it.
Okay, please read it. It's fantastic.
If you've ever wondered why Marxists hardly talk about the personal life of their god, Karl Marx, because he was basically the original Redditor. Marx was a chronically unemployed drunk with severe spending problem who lived on handouts from his family and others. Despite the most famous, well,
Just
a
read
lot
the
of
whole thing,
a lot
baby.
of
Read the whole thing. Read the whole thing.
Despite the most famous image of Marx portraying him as clean and sophisticated, he was a slob in actuality. He was such a slob that he had to be reminded to bathe, and visitors to his home wrote that sitting down in his house of squalor would risk you a pair of trousers. While writing about abolishing inheritance, Marx was collecting inheritance from his family and his aristocrat's wife's family. Any money given to them would be gone almost as fast as they received it due to Marx's immature spending. He also refused to work, of course. He was vocally pro-slave. Whoa. He was vocally pro-slavery and even had an industrialist servant who he never paid
Indentured.
a penny. Indentured servant. He would later end up getting his indentured servant pregnant and tried blaming it on his good friend Engels. Almost
Ooh.
everybody who wrote about him could not gloss over what a dreadful drunk he was. At one point, he locked a friend in his house and threatened him with a pair of handcuffs. Oh, and he really hated the Jews. Well, now do Thomas Jefferson. Now do Ayn Rand, who took Social Security, even though she didn't believe in the federal government giving handouts.
Yeah. Anyway,
Talk about Ayn
thoughts?
Rand's personal life. My goodness.
Thoughts?
But yeah, some of that is just flat out lies, like pro-slavery.
Mhm.
I mean, he was a supporter of Abraham
And he was
Lincoln,
Jewish.
Union
Yeah.
flag.
He was.
Yeah,
He wasn't. He was a
Jewish.
secular Jew.
Well, his family his father converted to Christianity.
Yeah, but that didn't spare anyone.
Right. Yeah.
So that didn't count. That didn't help. But
But
like ethnically,
he was critical of Jewish culture. I
yeah.
mean, there's an essay that he wrote
Mhm.
called "On the Jewish Question,"
Yeah.
which is somewhat satirical, but
Well,
it's
isn't it also
also
about
kind of an anti-woke essay, because there are a
Yeah.
lot of people
Yeah.
who are sort of involved in a civil rights struggle for Jews
Yeah.
in like the 1840s.
But wasn't it also kind of like that why is it that this population causes so much angst around in Europe? And it wasn't only because look at them, blah 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 blah, but this other thing. But yeah, but I think that my understanding, I don't know if his mom went, but yeah, his family was Jewish, but they were Christian, but they converted to what did you say, Catholicism, Christianity. Yeah. But unfortunately, people found out a few decades later that didn't matter, that when the Holocaust was up and running, that anybody, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. Um and, uh anyway, yeah, so I just think it's just kind of funny. It's like it's just so hilarious that this total it's like make ad hominem great again. Like we're gonna go after their god, and he was a drunk, and it's like most people didn't smell very well back then, baby. He wasn't living the high life. So I'm sure that people didn't notice that. But yeah, I just thought just the tact. So this Brandon Showalter guy, who's he's yeah, Christian, right? And he's very much anyway. he responded to her because he was truly a terrible, abusive pig, a horror of a human. It's not coincidental that this madman spewed the ruinous filth that he did. For the life of me, I cannot get over how some people just casually glossed over who he was personally. His ideas are tethered to who he was. Now I know that Brandon is a big Christian, so I wrote back to Brandon, and we'll wrap this up soon. I wrote back to him, your tweet makes Jesus the first socialist sad. And he wrote back, Jesus was not an abuser of women nor a drunken pig, and he wasn't a socialist. Ah, j'accuse. So I'm just having some fun with him. So I go, right, my bad. Jesus was the original venture capitalist. Brandon, were you in the tent with him and Mary Magdalene? Are you saying he turned water into wine but didn't partake? Jesus was the OG socialist before socialism was even a concept. What was his stance on moneylenders and the rich? In the New Testament, a bit of a puff piece, I admit. Jesus aligns himself with the hungry, the poor, and the sick, and the prisoners. Matthew 25, something, is often cited as the cornerstone of Christian socialism. It seems you know as much about Jesus' teaching as you do about Marxism.
Yeah.
And he blocked me. So he said, hi. So he's like, because so how nice insulting me smarmily, and you're blocked. It's like, oh, you're insulting one of my dudes, but I can't insult you for being a faux Christian, whatever. So I wrote back. So I it's one of the good things about having two accounts. I have a morbid symptoms account as well. But so when I have this thing now, just to have fun, is when somebody blocks me, I print it, I post it like a pelt, like it's part of my digital trophy case. So I said, thanks for the first faux Christian pelt to add to my digital trophy case, Brandon. I can't say for sure, but I have a hunch that he would have collaborated with Judas back in the day. And then I retweeted this because I wanted him to see it. Yeah, because he hadn't blocked me on my morbid symptoms account yet. Because I'm very mature. The truth is an insult. How woke of you, Brandon. I hope you have a creationist adult coloring book handy to recover from being so triggered. By the way, thanks for the content. You come for the bull, you get the horns, man. That's all I'm saying. And there's also, and then we're going to wrap up because Derek, why am I calling you Derek? Oh, that's right.
My name is Ned. Call me Ned.
Yeah. And so this guy who took the real life of Karl Marx has like 235,000 views, and a lot of them are making hay from this. They're getting it. This is what's making the rounds on social media. And so I'm just like, wow, the ruling classes and their minions must be getting nervous to put out tabloid-style accounts of Marx who died in 1883. Sure, whinge away. It's the guy who made revolutionary and paradigm-changing contributions to philosophy, social theory, and political economy, who imbibed at the pub that was the parasite, not financiers and rentiers. Irony. Yeah. It's just, it's like, but I have a thesis. And I'll share it with you if I can find it, because and then we're gonna wrap up. It's a nice place to wrap up. So some of my friends were asking well, they are friends. Was like, what's going on here? Why does everyone have up trying to besmirch Marx's personal life, and he died in 1883. And so here's my working hypothesis. Is that as contradictions within the system become more pronounced and its morbid symptoms escalate, there's a growing tendency to project these problems onto traditions meant to critique and overcome capitalism. So the failure to confront the truth that the system itself is the root of the problems leads to increasingly unhinged obsessions with Marx, Marxism, socialists, etc. It's a huge cope, aka a defense mechanism. And I don't know if you have any thoughts about that before we wrap up. What to make of this, this concerted effort to besmirch Marx's personal reputation.
Ad hominems in general are just, they're kind of worthless. I'm embarrassed for everyone involved, frankly. I'm embarrassed. But this is something that both the left wing and the right wing, they kind of need to take a step back. And they're basically just slinging mud at each other. The right wingers would justify this, I think, by that if you're going to sling mud at the founding fathers and claim that their personal lives
Okay.
are relevant to
Okay.
the
Then fair
overall
game.
capitalist system,
Hmm.
then it's fair game to go after Marx.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
yeah, and I mean, for me, it's like I just find that this has become a tangent of the 2024 election cycle. Marx, who died in 1883's personal life. I mean, it's like, and again, if he was, again, if perhaps if Kamala and the DNC were actually, Marxist Leninists or something, then it might, they think, okay, you're going to talk about how
it would
racist
not.
the
It would
founding
not be
fathers
relevant. It would
were.
very
We're
much
going to,
not. If
yeah.
even if they were Marxist Leninists, it would
Hmm.
not be relevant.
No, I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. But I'm saying your argument in terms of if you're going to go after the founding fathers and talk about how racist everything was, with critical race theory and all this stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
then we're going to go after your guys. But
yeah,
this
yeah.
isn't their guy.
No, it's not. It's not.
That's my thing. I agree that it doesn't
Except
matter.
that,
He could have
except
been the more terrible person ever. Maybe he stunk to high heaven. Doesn't mean his
except
contributions
that,
were relevant. Yeah.
except the fact that the Democratic Socialists of America have attached
Okay.
themselves to the Democratic Party
Yeah.
means that the Democrats are the most Marxist major party there is in America.
So people think.
So blame to some extent blame the DSA for claiming to
blame the
represent the
DSA.
Marxist tradition and to be de facto supporters of Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So it's the idea. So just yet another reason why the left is too. It doesn't hold. The center cannot hold, especially when the center is a mythical thing we call progressive Democrats. That there needs to be several divorces, and that's certainly one of them. That the DSA has got to choose which side of their ass is going to be the dominant one. Or which side of their mouth. It's like, are you Democrat or socialist or neither? Because right now you seem to be neither.
Yeah. Also, I think a good comeback to someone like that Christian guy is like, do you believe there's such a thing as false Christians? Well, there's also such a thing as false Marxists, right?
There you go. Well, I would.
Do you believe there's such a thing as false conservatives,
soon.
Republicans in name only? There's such a
Yeah.
thing as Marxists in name only.
Yeah. No, I was hoping that he would engage, but he really blocked me quick. And I was like, you're the one casting I would just, and like, I don't have a problem with historical Jesus. Got no problem at all. Like, what's wrong? I'm just, I'm just basically saying that he wasn't no capitalist. Okay. Obviously capitalist and social and concepts and practices didn't, there was in protein things there. People weren't going around those concepts then, but it's like, really? I'm like, come on. But anyway, no, I was hoping because I was ready, yo. I was like trying to pace myself and he blocked me right quick. I was like
Yeah,
great.
he was triggered.
Well, haha. When I shoot, I usually don't miss. No, but I was thinking it was fairly calm, compared to what he was saying. But no, that was, you insulted me with what? The fact, like a historically. Like, if he's hanging out with Mary Magdalene all the time, I'm just saying,
I've been blocked by
I'm not judging him.
Yeah. It used to be only leftists blocked me, but eventually you find the limits of the conservatives, their trigger points. I've even had was it a member of the quote unquote intellectual dark web? One of the better ones, that woman Helen Pluckrose, blocked me.
Oh,
because I was denouncing Zionism or criticizing Zionism.
Oh God,
that's her third rail.
Well, she's her and she's one of the three. She's one of the Trinity. Yeah, there's Peter something with a B. She was Jake. No, not Jake, but what's his name? Something
Boghossian,
Lindsay.
Peter Boghossian, James
Boghossian,
Lindsay, and Helen Pluckrose.
Yeah. And I liked how they clowned. I liked how they clowned the thing when they like published all these crazy papers, and I think that's fantastic. But again, they want to say again that the too nice Marx actual left, that's materialist left, that's focused on class politics, whatever. they let all these people into their house who now espouse all this crazy shit, you know? And it's like, so what are you gonna do? You gotta have some standards. You gotta make some things that is, or like say, like, look, if you want to believe in 5,000 genders and you want to think this and this and that, that's fine. But in this organization or with this politics, we're focused on this. You guys want to talk about that? You can go to the pub. You can go form your own affirmation society. But that's not what we do here. Yeah, you gotta say no. Stop putting the freaks in front. The likes and the pamphlet, the likes and the butts and the seats are not worth it. It's just, I don't have to tell you this. You've been fighting the fight, and you've been in the thick of it as well. But it's just like, people, Jesus criminy.
Marx would not
Gotta
be
get the wokeness out.
Marx would be banned from Reddit, and Marx would definitely be banned from Tumblr.
Well, and can you imagine what Daniel Tutt would say to Marx? I mean, he would like, okay, comrade, let me see. I've consulted my friends and I've prayed and I've done, whatever it is that I do, and I'm going to talk to you now. But first I have to tell you some of the can you imagine?
Toxic.
All right. Well, Garrett, thank you. I look forward to our next US Game of Thrones. We did cover a bit of the joy of the Blue Borg DNC. Although, to be fair, party conventions are for the party, so they are for the preaching to the choirs, and apparently for the patronage to go up. I wanted to play the Chris Cuomo thing when Chris Cuomo noticed all the rich people up in the top suites of the DNC and the people down the bottom who actually tried to, go door to door and collect and do whatever it is they're doing. But we'll save that for next time. But we did talk about that. We talked a bit about the RFK Trump alliance. We got into the Red Scare Redux and a bit about the professional tussle. So we did touch upon all these things. So cool. Anyway, Garrett, Ned Stark Ramirez, thank you very much. I'm so excited that I don't know why. I was just like, it'll be fun. I'll do all the work. Except for you have to deal with me. Then that's, that is some work. But I appreciate it. Thank you, comrade. And I will, if there's anything you want to say or plug or any words of wisdom before we sign off.
No, just honored to be in the Game of Thrones.
And I'm telling you, I picked, and I had to think about it. I was like, should I do this? Because like, I know you. Yeah. Well, fine. We know. Yeah, I consider you a friend. We never met face to face, but face to face digitally. And I was like, should I do that to him? Because I thought there could be people who watch the show who are really into Game of Thrones, and that he's a sacred character. And I thought, no, Garrett can put it off. And I thought, I can't make him Bronn because Bronn is a cynic and a mercenary. And I was like, no, I can't do that to him. But yeah, Ned Stark, you rock that face swap, baby. All right. See you next time, Garrett. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye. All right. So this has been the Wednesday edition of the Morbid Symptoms Update, and it's our Game of Thrones, U.S. Game of Thrones special. Well, election coverage that I plan on doing on Wednesdays, hopefully on Wednesdays, but try to do it once a week, depending on Garrett Ned Stark Ramirez's availability. If anybody comes across the clip or a tweet or something really, interesting, crazy, whatever, in regards to the election, please do let me know. You can DM me on X, and I will take a look at it. So, right, until we meet again, until Friday on the next Morbid Symptoms Update, please take care and do like and subscribe and all that good stuff. It does help. And I'm going to play a couple of videos on the way out so you can know where to find us on all the platforms and where to like to subscribe or support us on Patreon or buy us a coffee, this type of thing. So I'm going to play that. And I'll probably also play this episode of Game of Thrones US 2024 election where you can see the face swap of Garrett Ramirez and Ned Stark as well as the other characters I picked for the main players of the Game of Thrones US 24 elections. See you next time.